How to have your mortgage paid whilst on holidays. It does sound too good to be true. We're going to tell you how to do it.
Stay tuned, guys.
Or
Round two.
round two.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning, Billy.
Round two. I hope everyone can hear us.
Yes, sorry, guys. We had a couple of tech difficulties before. Merry Christmas.
Hey,
How are you, Billy? How's your Christmas time?
really good. Yours?
Really, really good. I was saying to Billy before, I think we're very, very blessed this year that we actually had a sunny Christmas. I feel like the past couple of Christmases, it's only been raining.
Literally. And I did make an effort to try and not get too sunburned.
Yep.
But yeah, the pasty white skin definitely it took a little bit of UV.
Well, I think that English background of yours, it's good for tanning. But guys, we've got sound on, which is great. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is very relevant for everyone at this time of year and something I think is very interesting to hear about. A lot of Aussies, I think, are already doing this as well. But for someone that's not doing it, or maybe a first home buyer that's getting into the market now, it's interesting to hear about having your mortgage paid whilst you're on holidays.
Yeah. Now, I think I've started to see this pop up on Facebook more than anywhere else.
Wow.
Recently.
Yep.
Maybe they're just targeting me through the algorithm,
Yep.
but I swear I've been seeing this a lot. People, either renting rooms out
Mhm.
or their entire home whilst they're going away for maybe 2 weeks over the Christmas period, and they're actually getting some really big money.
It's interesting because I guess when you're looking to rent your property out, you've got normally a long-term let, which is like to a tenant for 6 or 12 months, and that's someone that actually wants to live in the property. And Luke made a good point, invest is best. So this, guys, to give you a bit of context, is mainly targeted at owner-occupiers. Of course, you've got your investments as well, but this is for owner-occupied properties, for something that you're living in as your primary place of residence, and you're going, I'm going to be away over the Christmas period, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I want to get some extra income during that time. And I think, and look, there's pitfalls with it, and I think there's some great things with it, but I think it's definitely something worthwhile to be explored if you are a homeowner. Because like Billy said, the amount that you can rent a property out for during this time is actually quite ludicrous in terms of the amount you pay per day. And I think there's some really decent money to be made.
Well, I guess when you're looking at going overseas, that's an expense you factor in on your trip, right? Paying for the accommodation over there. So if you can kind of offset that with renting your place out, it makes a massive difference. Luke's given a bit of advice. I watched the tax implications.
Correct. I was going to cover that shortly as well. So obviously during this time, when you're renting your property out, it is your primary place of residence. If you are looking to generate an income from it, there are tax implications. Of course, you're going to be taxed on that income. Speak to your accountant in terms of what the implications are on the capital gains tax aspect as well, as it is considered a bit of an investment during that period as well. So there are other avenues that you've got to look into on the money side of things. But obviously we're not financial advisors, to speak to your accountant or your broker on that side. But in terms of, I guess, the income that you can generate, I guess you've probably looked into it a little bit as well, Billy. So let's say you've got a 2-bedroom apartment in DY down near the beach, and I'm going to go away on holidays for 2 weeks. What sort of rent could you get per day?
There's a good couple of ways you can get a bit of an estimate. Firstly, you can engage a real estate agent to give a bit of a market rental appraisal. So we can look at some comparables, what's on the market and what's leased, and put a figure to give you a ballpark. Yeah. I guess from there you can look into. There's a few different ways you can manage that. From there, an alternative is Airbnb. Not that we're here to promote them, completely today, but they do a really good job of taking the number of bedrooms and your postcode, knowing the position in there, can give you a figure as well.
Okay, it's interesting because from what I'm seeing, a couple $100 a night, like it's something that I guess for, let's say, normal weekly rent that you'd achieve for a property on a long-term lease, it is well surpassed that in your nightly / over a week's period whilst it's during that Christmas period. Yeah. And I think it's just something that's very, very cool in terms of, look, it's not for everyone. Like some people, I think, and I know clients that I speak to in terms of they go, I don't want anyone in my home during this Christmas period. I've got all my valuables there. Yeah. It's just something that they're not open to the idea of. And I completely understand that. But for someone that isn't as fussed about something like that, you can lock all your valuables away. You go, look, we're not using it any time. It's just a dead period for the property. It's something that could pretty much fund your holiday.
Yeah, pretty much. And it could take you from, a shorter holiday where you spend a couple of months away to potentially 6 months away. You spend half the year out. And if you can stretch it that far, then you can maybe go a bit more of a traditional route with renting it out and, just do a short 6 month lease or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the people who are looking over Christmas, I guess there's 3 ways we've sort of come up with how you could go about it.
Yep. So I guess the first way in terms of short-term lease. So if you're wanting to do a short-term lease on places like Airbnb, I think they're absolutely brilliant to be able to basically work out something probably sub a month for people to go into, or also there's long-term leases as well. But what would you say, Billy?
I think, well, the most obvious one is manage it yourself. Now, there's a lot of people on Facebook, that are offering to, rent their place out. Maybe they're looking to do a bit of a cash deal there, so you could just do a bank transfer. I guess that does, in a way, try and avoid some of the, some of the paperwork and bits of that. But it runs its risk.
I was going to say, I'd be careful unless you're very, very experienced with, like, let's say you manage some other investments yourself or have experience with that. I'd be very, very cautious of it.
Yeah.
I feel like the biggest pitfalls people have when they're renting out their property, whether it's short-term or long-term, is just when it comes to the inexperience of it. So when everything's going great, it doesn't really matter. It's for that one time that something maybe it goes a little bit pear-shaped the way it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That I think you really got to watch out for. And that's why it's good to have an expert there, whether you're going through a service like Airbnb, whether you're going through a service like your agent there in the medium to long term.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very good just to have that experience there in your corner. They'll be able to, in terms of all the funding and all that, when the income comes in, give you your statements and go through, do all that for you.
Yeah.
And just to have that bit of a buffer, I think is just absolutely brilliant.
There's definitely, definitely looks like there's people doing that on Facebook though. I think the second one is kind of a halfway point between doing it yourself and an agent, and that's on Airbnb. Now, I know from personal experience, it's actually quite user friendly to set up. I wouldn't say you really need any professional advice on how to do that. It's they do a good job, and that gives you some of the insurances that you need for the property itself. I guess it gives you the certainty around who's checking into the property. Everyone's got their ID verified and things like that, and it keeps communication in a nice, easy, transparent way on their app.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good point, actually. I didn't even think about that in terms of, obviously, when you're going through a service like that, there's a history behind people.
Yeah.
You can see what ratings everyone else has left. It sort of takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it, I guess, because you can sort of qualify the person that's coming to rent your property. Obviously, there's never a sure thing when it comes to something like this, but if it can give you a little bit more peace of mind, and at least okay, they've been great tenants in other properties when they've stayed there in the past, generally it's going to be the same now.
And it's funny, it actually works out about half of the cost of engaging like a professional, like a short-term letting agency that will do the full work for you. So based on my own inquiry, I sort of came to find there was about a 20% fee for someone to do the full work for you. Airbnb takes about 11%.
Yeah.
So I guess it's that halfway point. And then
the last one, sorry. Yeah.
Obviously you can engage someone to do the full thing for you. And that covers, everything from an ingoing, like a normal tenancy, to outgoings, to management of guests and things like that. Obviously there's a bit of a fee there, but maybe something, again, if you want just a bit of certainty, to know your property is in good hands.
Yeah, exactly. And look, it's like anything in life. You pay for what you get. So when you're managing it yourself, you're not paying absolutely any fees. You're taking on the most amount of risk. But if you know what you're doing, I guess you can sort of cover yourself there. You got something in the middle like Airbnb, or you can get a full-time property manager that does these short-term lettings that can look after it for you. You pay for what you get. So if you're paying extra, you're going to get a better quality service. Like I said, in terms of most of the time, it's not really going to be an issue. It's only when things go wrong that you want someone experienced in your corner.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of almost the gamble that you take with it. But it's good to have these different options there as well.
We've got another comment here. If there's issues, no backup. dodgy people target the cash setups.
Correct. Exactly. So if you want to do it yourself, you do leave yourself more exposed to those risks. Some people obviously like to have it managed in their hands. And like I said, if they've got the experience behind them, it's great. I just think it's a bit of a trap for inexperienced people out there that maybe haven't had gone through it before. They go, oh, this is a quick way to make some money. I'd just be very, very cautious of it.
Yeah. But there you go. There's something to maybe think about over, over the holiday periods. If you're going away in the new year for an extended period, potentially rent out your property and get a bit of cash.
Exactly, guys. And look, the good thing is there, obviously, you're renting your property there fully furnished. Make sure as well, do your research on it first in terms of the best way to have your property set up, have your valuables tucked away, have your property set up in a way that I guess you're not going to stress whilst you're gone.
Yeah.
It's just a great extra way, I think, and it's not right for everyone's situation, bear in mind, but I think for a lot of people out there that are going on holidays, especially now, interest rates going up, everything's a bit tighter, to have that extra cash just to help fund that holiday, to keep that lifestyle going, I think it's not a bad thing.
Anything else to add?
No, that's pretty much it. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. Guys, we're working all through this Christmas period as well. We're back on deck today. We're going to be showing properties. So, anything for your property needs, contact us. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.